And for us, that's a very strong criterion of success. We're very happy to see that 48% of the people that engaged with the course at the beginning followed it through to actually take the test at the end. So on that basis, these are the kind of 5 summary points that I'd like to just talk through for a couple of minutes about how I think we got there and how I think we will move forward in the future. So these 5 elements are things that anybody that's taught in a university will be very familiar with, and they will use them on a daily basis when they're planning degree programs and courses. They are sort of the bread and butter of program and course design. And they are all true for MOOCs. The only difference with MOOCs is that you have an unknown audience. You don't define the level of the participants that turn up to your MOOC. You don't know what their prior experience is, and you don't know what their learning goal is. So our MOOC, as everybody else's, attracted mostly qualified individuals, mostly over 18, but ranged from 16-year-olds studying geography to a housewife in Hounslow, as John talks about, who read his research papers whilst ironing. So you've got a real continuum, a spread of people with very different goals, levels, experience, and desired outcomes. And we're trying to design a MOOC that meets the needs of all of these individuals. And in the ex-MOOC world, where we've got a very linear learning journey, this is an exceptionally difficult problem. No educator would choose this problem if they were going to design a module in a university. They know that the students are coming in with a particular grade profile, with particular experience and prerequisites, and they would design a course and an assessment based on that and the desired learning outcome. With MOOCs, we have a very different proposition. And unless we're very clear with our learners about what it is that we think they're going to get from it, and they're able to match up what they want to get from it, we're always going to have this problem, perceived problem, of a reduction in completion, because we can't match up people's goals with a single course at any given time. So these 4 considerations, I think, are very, very important for us going forward in terms of how we design our courses for students. Secondly, and this is one of my biggest things at the moment, I'm really, as I've said already, really concerned about the lack of skills that students have to study online. And I think the evidence that I've shown you from our course, where if you provide students with those digital learning skill resources, they use them, and I think you see that they actually follow them through and that they will get a better experience as a result of it. It's very, very rare to find a MOOC on any of the platforms where students' study skills are specifically taught at the beginning, or during, or throughout a course. Students are just expected to understand what it means to communicate online, to interact with one another, and what on earth does a badge mean. Maybe we could ask people in the audience. So I think there's a whole number of different scenarios around where people don't know all of this terminology that we take for granted, what's expected of them, what we expect, what they expect of a course, and they're really struggling to understand how to make the most of the experience. And one of the things that I think is very closely related to that is this point that I think the previous presenters have spoken about, this point in the middle, this perfect point of learning that we know is not the C MOOC and we know it's not the X MOOC. We know that, as John's already said, or Stephen I think it was, said, a C MOOC experience is very daunting. It's quite challenging and quite scary. Now, I suspect most 17-year-old students are not going to feel comfortable in a C MOOC environment. They're much more likely to feel comfortable in an X MOOC environment where they are used to being given tutor-generated content. But an X MOOC experience may be too superficial. It doesn't give you that kind of really gritty experience of trying to assimilate knowledge yourself, which is what is great from a C MOOC experience. So something in between, I think, is where we need to get to, where tutors can generate content, where students can generate content, where they can all collate the best of the web, where they can all solve problems together, and particularly, and most importantly, we make very clever and authentic use of social learning opportunities. And this, I think, is one of the biggest challenges that we face. As we move into massive, whatever massive means for different people, and if we are trying to say we are going to create courses that give us strong educational outcomes, and we know a small group learning environment such as those numbers that John just showed, those student-staff ratios, we know these are powerful learning experiences. How are we going to recreate this online? At the moment, it's very challenging, and I also think we're not making enough yet of the learner analytics and the data that we have. So if we know that the majority of learners in these courses are qualified, often professionals, then why are we not using their expertise to support, for example, the school-level students who might want to take this course? If Michael Gove's prediction about wanting to integrate MOOCs into schools comes true, we actually have a really unique opportunity to make the most of experts and moderators to support young minds in a MOOC environment. But we can only do that if we use the analytics and the data to try and understand people's individual learning styles, to understand their prior knowledge and their skills, their learning intention, to put people into effective small groups that can actually be constructive and allow them to learn something effectively. And this is how big data and learner analytics can really help us to provide a really concise, a really structured and constructive learning environment in a small group environment such as an online discussion. Of course, universities can never provide the kind of staff-student ratio, student-staff ratio that John was alluding to. But there are many experts around the world who are studying these courses that can help to curate and moderate courses with students. If we are prepared to put time and effort into these examinations for MOOCs, even if they are physical examinations taken by students at a fee, and universities and employers see them as having no value, then are we mis-selling by providing students with the opportunity to take these examinations? At the moment, I have really quite serious concerns about this, and I think we should be dealing with it. We have to deal with it, but it needs a huge amount of quality assurance work and user verification before employers and universities will take this on board. But if they were able to, then MOOCs could offer us an alternative admissions system, particularly if MOOCs do become embedded into the school-level system and we can verify students' performance through MOOCs as part of the university admission system. But unless we have a big debate about this and think about what it really means to do this, then I'm really worried about why we're offering certificates and statements of achievement to people online. And I'll end there and say thank you very much. And our next two MOOCs, just an interesting point actually on pedagogy. When we're designing different courses, there are very different innovative challenges, pedagogical challenges. So our MOOC going out in March is about actor training. It's about the physicality of learning how to act. And we know this is a very niche course. It's not going to attract very many people, but we're doing it because we're so excited about the idea of trying to teach this online that we want to find out what the pedagogy should be to do this. So keep watching us. I hope that you'll see that we're trying to do things innovatively with a very strong pedagogic basis. Thank you very much.